When I found my mom's body, she was holding a chess piece in her hand. It was a black queen. I was 10 years old. People kept whispering that it was suicide. Said she was depressed, lonely. Maybe took pills, maybe it was poison, who knows. Nobody wanted to say much. I just remember sitting in the back of a police car with a blanket wrapped around me. It didn't even smell like home. It smelled like endings. But that chess piece, it never left my mind. I didn't understand it back then, but now, after all these years, I know exactly what it meant. My mom wasn't crazy. She wasn't weak. She was warning me. I grew up in foster homes, cold meals, second-hand clothes. I was just Harper, the quiet one. I kept to myself. But when I turned 17, I found something that changed everything. I was going through an old box of my mom's stuff, things they let me keep. In the back of a picture frame, I found a folded letter. No name. No address. Just one line written in her handwriting. If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. Start with the Thatchers. I didn't know who the Thatchers were. Not at first. But after a few late nights at the library, digging through news archives and government records, I found out. They were one of the most powerful families in America. Political royalty. Old money. The kind of people who make a phone call and problems disappear. And somehow, my mom had crossed them. So that was the moment I made a decision. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to hide. I was going to find out what they did, and I was going to burn them down. I didn't have money, but I had time. I studied people. Watched how they moved, how they talked, how they lied. I read psychology books like they were instruction manuals. By the time I turned 21, I knew how to slip into a room and own it without anyone realizing they were being played. Then I met Noah Thatcher, the youngest son of the family. Princeton grad. Clean cut. All-American charm. Future senator type. I met him accidentally at a bookstore in Boston. He spilled his coffee. I laughed. He offered to buy me a new book. And just like that, I was in. He thought it was fate. Cute, right? We started dating. Dinners. Weekend trips. He was sweet. Smart. The kind of guy that would make any girl feel safe. But I wasn't falling in love. I was falling into position. Every time he talked, I listened carefully. Every story about his family, I remembered. Every glance he gave his phone when a text popped up, I noted the name. Every password he typed when he thought I wasn't looking, I memorized it. One night, while he was asleep, I went through his laptop. It was protected, sure, but nothing I couldn't handle. There were folders with strange names. Encrypted files. But something told me I was getting close. He once told me, "You're the only person I can trust." I smiled when he said that. Inside, I wanted to laugh. Then came the dinner. He invited me to his family estate. I'll never forget the feeling I had walking up to those big front doors with that same black queen piece in my pocket. The same one my mom held when she died. Inside, his father, Senator Gerald Thatcher, shook my hand and kissed my cheek like he hadn't ordered my mother's death 15 years ago. He poured me wine and called me darling. I played my role perfectly. Pretty, polite, harmless. But under the table, I clenched my fists so tight my nails left marks. That house was like a museum of power. Paintings of old ancestors. Trophies. Awards. Family photographs that looked like magazine covers. But beneath all that, there were secrets. I could feel them. I started exploring the house whenever I was left alone. On the third night, I found a small room hidden behind a bookshelf in the library. It was cold and dark. Inside were locked drawers and a metal filing cabinet. I picked the lock and found what I was looking for. There were documents. A folder labeled Psychological. Evaluation, Evelyn Harper. My mom. I read every word. Every line burned itself into my brain. She had found something. Evidence. Something the Thatchers wanted to keep buried. So they watched her. Gaslighted her. Made her feel like she was losing her mind. They turned her into her own enemy. They didn't just silence her. They erased her. And that's when I realized she hadn't just died. They'd killed her. Slowly. Carefully. Quietly. The next day, I looked Noah in the eyes and told him I loved him. He smiled. He said he loved me too. Later that week, we went to a charity gala. His father gave a speech. All smiles and applause. But near the end, he raised a toast and said, "To all the women who forgot their place and paid the price." Everyone laughed. But I heard him loud and clear. He was talking about her. About my mom. And suddenly, something in me snapped. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't a lost little girl. I was a storm they didn't see coming. That night, while everyone else was asleep, I took the Black Queen from my pocket and placed it on the senator's desk. Right in the center. Where he'd see it first thing in the morning. He'd know what it meant. He'd remember her. And he'd understand that I was here now. I was my mother's daughter. And the game had just begun. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the guest bedroom, staring at the ceiling, waiting. Waiting for the explosion. I knew Senator Thatcher would see the Black Queen on his desk in the morning. I also knew he'd recognize it instantly. And he'd wonder, was it a threat? A message? Or worse, a warning that his past was catching up? It took exactly 24 hours before things started changing. Noah's behavior shifted. He was nervous. Distracted. He kept checking his phone, stepping out to take urgent calls. At breakfast, he barely touched his coffee. He tried to act normal, but I've learned something about powerful people. They're not scared of threats. They're scared of ghosts. My mom was a ghost now, and I was her voice. That evening, I watched as Senator Thatcher pulled Noah into his study. The door closed. The voices rose. I pressed my ear to the wall. I couldn't make out everything, but I heard my name. And then the senator said something that confirmed what I already suspected. She knows. I don't know how, but she knows. My heart raced. They were panicking. Good. Later that night, I called a friend from my foster home days. His name's Alex. Brilliant hacker. Paranoid genius. But loyal. I'd told him a little about my plan before, but now I needed more. I sent him pictures of the documents I'd found, and he dug deep into the digital skeletons of the Thatcher family. What we uncovered, it was worse than I imagined. Offshore accounts, shell companies, bribery. But one file stood out. It was labeled Operation Eclipse. It had encrypted files, internal memos, and a list of names. My mom's name was there, highlighted in red. She'd been flagged as a potential leak. The date, 3 weeks before her death. That was the smoking gun. The proof they planned it. But I wasn't ready to release it. Not yet. First, I wanted them to feel what my mom felt. The paranoia. The fear. The crumbling of control. So I started playing my own game. I left subtle clues in their house. A newspaper with a story about whistleblowers circled in red. A security camera unplugged without explanation. Their car alarm going off at 3 a.m. for no reason. The senator tightened security. Noah started asking me if I was okay. "You've been acting different," he said. I just smiled. "I'm fine. Just tired." The truth was, I'd never felt more alive. Then came the gala. A huge political fundraiser at the governor's mansion. Everyone who was anyone in politics would be there, including the Thatchers. I wore a black dress and a silver pendant with the same chess queen symbol engraved on it. I knew it would catch their eyes. But the real weapon wasn't around my neck. It was in the envelope I handed to an investigative journalist right before the event began. Inside, screenshots, voice memos, transaction records. Every dirty secret they tried to bury. My mom's files. My findings. Alex's digital trail. He opened it, looked at me, and said, "This is career-ending." I nodded. Good. That night, I danced with Noah on the ballroom floor. He whispered in my ear. I was thinking, after the campaign, maybe we could get away. Just us. Somewhere quiet. I smiled. "You mean run away?" He chuckled. "No, just disappear for a while. We've earned it." I looked into his eyes. And for a moment, I saw something real. Maybe he wasn't as dirty as the rest. Maybe he didn't know everything. But maybe wasn't enough. Because that same night, after I went to the bathroom, I saw Senator Thatcher standing in the hallway with a strange man. They were arguing quietly. And then I heard him say, "She's too close. Do it clean." My blood froze. They weren't just scared of me. They were planning to eliminate me. Just like they did to her. So I did the one thing I hadn't planned on yet. I ran. I didn't go back to their house. I didn't say goodbye to Noah. I disappeared into the night with only my phone, my backup drive, and the clothes on my back. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just kept walking. By the time the sun rose, my story was already out. The journalist had dropped the story online, massive headline, "Senator tied to secret operation targeting whistleblowers, including mysterious death of Evelyn Harper." It spread like wildfire. News outlets picked it up. Protests started. The Thatchers released a cold, calculated statement denying everything. But it was too late. The truth was out. But I knew this wasn't over. They wouldn't just walk away. And neither would I. I thought going public would end everything. I was wrong. The story exploded like wildfire. News outlets ran it non-stop. Social media went crazy. Protesters stood outside the senator's estate holding signs with my mom's name on them. People demanded answers. But the Thatchers, they stayed quiet. Noah vanished from public view. The senator issued a brief statement calling the story a disgusting lie from an unhinged girl with no credibility. They denied everything. No charges. No arrests. Just silence and spin. It was like they'd built a wall too high for truth to climb. I watched it all from a safe house across the state. I kept my head down. I waited. But with every day that passed, my anger grew louder than my fear. I didn't risk everything for justice to die in a press release. So I decided to end it my way. I reached out to one last person, someone I'd hoped I'd never need. Her name was Veronica Shaw. She used to work for Senator Thatcher's campaign years ago. Quietly disappeared after a scandal that never made the news. But she had secrets. Secrets she'd buried to stay alive. It took some convincing. A promise that she'd stay anonymous. I told her about my mom. About everything. She agreed to help. Veronica gave me something I never thought I'd get, a recording. A grainy, low-quality audio file. 2 voices, Senator Thatcher, and my mom. I listened to it over and over. My mom had gone to him with proof. She'd begged him to stop whatever they were doing. She was scared. He tried to calm her, then warned her. If you go public, Evelyn, we can't protect you. And then she said, I'm not asking for protection. I'm asking for justice. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. I sent the recording to the same journalist I worked with before. But I also leaked it myself, straight to the internet. No edits. No filters. Just raw, brutal truth. And this time, it worked. The senator couldn't spin it. The voice was unmistakable. My mom's courage, her fear. Her strength, it was all right there. The public turned. Fast. Investigations reopened. Allies distanced themselves. His approval dropped overnight. Then came the arrest. It wasn't for my mother's death yet. But they got him on conspiracy, fraud, obstruction of justice. Enough to hold him. Enough to start peeling back everything he tried to hide. I remember sitting in the back of a taxi, watching him get shoved into a black SUV in handcuffs on live TV. And for the first time in years, I cried. But it wasn't over. Noah sent me a message a few days later. It was short. I didn't know. I swear. But I should have. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. Because deep down, I think part of him did know. Maybe not the details, but enough to feel it. And he looked away. I couldn't. I went back to my mom's old house, now abandoned. Everything covered in dust and silence. But it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like the final page of a book I'd been trapped inside my whole life. I took out the black chess queen and set it on her windowsill. Let the sun hit it. That piece had haunted me for so long. But now, it was just a piece of plastic. Nothing more. I started walking away, down the same street I used to ride my bike as a kid. The air smelled like autumn. Like endings and beginnings. People ask me if I got revenge. I didn't. I got the truth. I gave my mom a voice when they tried to silence her. I tore open a lie that stained too many lives. And I walked away whole. That's not revenge. That's justice. And justice is enough.